Welcome to Power Talks, a podcast designed for technology, trends, and insights. Hi, welcome to the third episode of our AI in QA series. Today we will be talking about data as backbone of AI in QA. Joining us is Shrish Ashtaputre. He is the head of QA and DevOps at Calsoft with 25 years of experience in IT engineering. So Shrish, we have come to a very interesting topic, which is data, AI and QA. So why data is so critical in AI-driven QA initiatives?
So I think data is not only important in AI-driven QA initiatives, but in general, anywhere you want to use AI, data is very critical, because any AI can be as good as your data is, and that's the ground rule. Specifically talking about QA, because essentially QAs will be doing the validation of your application, and they will be doing it from the customer's point of view, how the application will actually be used in the production. So missing on any scenario or any important workflow is non-negotiable. So if you are training your AI systems, they must be trained on a lot of variety of different data pertaining to these use cases, how different application pattern, usage patterns, etc., etc. So having that data is super critical for using AI in QA.
And what are these different types of data?
Right. So data types can be of different variety. For example, there could be historical logs, commit messages, any documented use cases, design documents, application logs. So all these things basically have their own level of importance when we train the AI models for that particular use case. So yeah, these are some of the examples of data that is typically used in QA.
Data privacy and compliance is becoming more crucial these days. So how are we managing these challenges in testing?
Right. So there are techniques which we can use. For example, the data can be masked, data can be anonymized. And this is not only AI, but in general also when QA are doing testing of their applications, typically these measures are always employed by the organizations, where the sensitive information should not be used or revealed when they are testing these applications. So, but using these techniques like masking, anonymizing, and of course making sure that we comply with the industry standards if we are testing some healthcare related data or some financial related data. So complying to the different standards such as GDPR or anything that sort of that is also very, very important. So QA will always need to basically comply with these standards when they test using the data.
This is something I personally want to understand, how synthetic data and real world data complements each other.
Right. So see, everybody would definitely want to test with real world data, but that is not always feasible. Sometimes, let's say if you have a very, very new feature implemented in your application, you may not have the data to validate that feature. So in such scenarios, synthetic data comes handy. Of course, when you want to validate your application or edge scenarios, some corner cases, which are typically not seen in the production environment, again you will rely on synthetic data. So that's how basically we need to strike a balance between using both these real data and synthetic data in validating the application.
So in QA, what practices actually ensures the data readiness in AI models?
Right. So to train any AI models in QA, the data has to be clean and properly tagged. So there has to be some metadata information associated with your data. The tags have to be proper. There should not be duplicate information. There should be basically very clear definitions about all the workflows or the use cases that your application caters to. So reducing the noise in the data, making sure that the data is tagged properly, it is clean, non-duplicate. These are some of the things which are important when we prepare the data for any AI model training.
So thank you, Shirish. That
Sure.
was very informative, and I hope our audiences get the answer. Let us take the question from the audience. How can small teams with limited data still adopt AI in QA?
Okay, so in such cases, my recommendation would be to start using some pre-trained model on your domain or QA. Then use the synthetic the data to fine-tune these models. And once they arrive at certain level, then use your own domain-specific data to fine-tune these models even further. So that way they can basically bridge or address the problem of not having enough data to get started with the AI based initiatives.
So next question, what are the best practices for handling sensitive customer data in testing?
Okay, so I think we discussed this question some time back, but basically anonymizing the information, masking the private information, personal information, and also basically complying with the standards like GDPR or anything similar. That is super important. So that's how basically we need to make sure that we comply with the data privacy and the required measures.
Last question, can AI itself help clean and prepare data for better QA insights?
Of course, yes. So there have, in fact, we have also tried some of these use cases, rather implemented. Definitely, AI can help you clean the duplicates. They can also help you create the tags or annotations for your data, essentially creating the metadata for your data, and also basically reducing the noise in your data so that it becomes ready for the further training of AI models or fine tuning of AI models. So yes, AI definitely helps in preparing the data for your AI use case implementation in QA.
Thank you for watching this episode till the very end. If you have any questions and queries, please feel free to write to us at marketing@calsoftinc.com. If you have missed any episode from the series, you can find the details in the description. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy, and see you next time.